We got Mary Kay, and Mary Kay was at the media availability with Jed Wills yesterday, so I'm curious to see what her thoughts on the situation. We'll bring Mary Kay in after a quick word from FanDuel. Get ready to tackle all the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out all the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Mary Kay, we were just talking about Jed Wills' comments yesterday saying he made a business decision to sit out against Baltimore. You were there as Jed Wills was talking to the media in the scrum. What'd you take away from Jed Wills' comments, and do you think he knew what he meant when he said business decision?
I think he did know what he meant. He was very adamant about the fact that he made this decision. This was of his own volition. This is what he wanted to say. This is what he wanted to do. And he was adamant about the fact that he was not going to play hurt, that he doesn't think that's good for anyone. He felt that maybe he was about 70% heading into that game and that someone else would have given them a better chance to win at that position. Now, having said that, he probably didn't understand the ramifications or the repercussions of saying something like that, because you never, ever hear a player saying that he made a business decision not to play. Sometimes we know they make a business decision not to play for one reason or another, but nobody ever actually comes right out and admits it. But I think Jed has gotten to the point right now in his Cleveland Browns career where he sees the writing on the wall. He basically said that he wants to be somewhere where he's wanted. I don't know that he feels wanted here anymore. And I think he's just reached a point of frustration, and he was ready to let it out.
You know what's funny, though, and is that the owners make business decisions every day, and we never complain about that. But a player says he makes a business decision, we get all up in arms. Mary Kay, we were just talking about Andrew Berry's, had 5 drafts that he's been in charge of. And with those first-round picks, he's taken Jed Wills, who's a bust, Greg Newsome, who's mediocre, and used the other 3 for the worst quarterback in America. How does he keep his job, and how would we trust him to make the picks in this year's draft?
Well, up to this point, up to this year, they had made the playoffs twice. They won 11 games twice in his regime. And Kevin Stefanski has won NFL Coach of the Year twice. So there really wasn't all that much to argue with about until you get to this year. Now they're springing leaks here and there, and nothing really went right this year, and they've got a lot to fix. So, now you're looking at the draft picks and you're realizing, okay, maybe this didn't go so well or that didn't go so well. But I think up to this point, you can say that they've done a really nice job. Even when a draft pick hasn't worked out, they've made up for it in one way or another. Even with the 3 picks used on Deshaun Watson, they went out and they were able to get guys that were almost playing at a first-round level that they got in later rounds, such as DeJuan Jones and Martin Emerson Jr. Now, this year, that's not happening as much, so that is also amplified or magnified. They've got a lot of making up to do for the things that have gone on this year.
Mary Kay, the Browns are coming off of a bye week. Obviously, they had time to self-reflect, self-scout, do all those things. What do you think is going to be a major change, or do you think there is any major changes that we see this Sunday coming off of the bye week?
No, I don't think there are any major changes to be made because we already know that they're sticking with Jameis Winston at quarterback. So that's that. Unless he continues to throw pick after pick after pick, then he's going to earn a trip over to the sidelines next to Kevin Stefanski, and we will see Dorian Thompson-Robinson, maybe even Bailey Zappi at some point. So that's a big one there. And then really there aren't any other major changes that they can make. They already traded away Amari Cooper. They already traded away Zadarius Smith. The things that we are going to see that will be a little bit different will be, once again, more DeJuan Jones at left tackle and see if he can become the left tackle of the future. You'll see maybe some young receivers will get a little bit of an opportunity. I think maybe we'll see Jamari Thrash at some point. I think that We'll be able to take a look at Isaiah McGuire at end and see how he'll do over there. So these are some of the things, but there aren't major changes that can be made. One of the things that I've been harping on a little bit is the fact that they need to get some interceptions, and they need to get them from their defensive backs. They only have one interception this whole entire season. That is last in the NFL, tied with the Giants for one in the NFL this season, and that one came from JOK. So certainly somebody else has got to be able to get an interception on this football team. So I think that's one of the things that they need to try to emphasize, because you need those big plays from your defensive backs. And I think the other thing is you want to see guys step up that were supposed to have bigger seasons than they have, like the Martin Emersons of the world.
Mary Kay, I just had a meltdown a little bit ago.
Oh man!
But
it was you overreacted. You really did.
Man, listen, to hear some of them names.
You gotta Mary Kay, when you explain to him that in certain drafts, they draft off of position need. What do you need?
Well, I done heard people say for my whole life.
Joe Thomas had just retired.
Hey man, listen, I get it, man. But when you start to see telling you,
but
I'm here,
Trenton,
I hear that.
2 picks later,
I hear that one. I ain't got no argument. But the rest of the names,
when you talk about Justin Jefferson and C,
they had Odell. They had Odell,
and they got rid of Odell. My question is, that's what I'm saying. Every person that comes to the Browns through free agency seems to be excited to leave.
That's true.
Odell Beckham, get me out of here.
Jarvis,
Jadeveon Clowney, Zadarius Smith, Juan Thornhill, John Johnson.
Juan Thornhill's not even gone yet.
Why are all these people? They get here 2 seconds. They be like, "Get me up out!" Like this is crazy to me. It's every free agent. It just seems like it's a breath of fresh air. They turn to the Lord. They find a higher power, and then they play better. Mary Kay, talk me off the ledge. I'm just saying they excited. He's talking about shaking my head. He's excited, Mary Kay. This is crazy.
I actually think that a lot of free agents have come through here and they've done pretty well here, and some of them have revived their careers here. I mean, even Zadarius Smith, I feel like we kind of turned him into a little bit of a star here. The way that I watched him, in the media over the past couple of days, he sort of put himself back on the map by being here and being on a team with Myles Garrett and doing well this year. So I actually think a number of free agents come through here. Things go pretty well for them. The ones that you're talking about are the ones that sort of stand out because they don't work out all the time. But for the most part, I think it's gone pretty well. The Jacoby Brissetts and guys like that.
Man, Mary Kay, that is a crazy stat. I didn't remember, by the way, that you gave before. So the Browns don't have Cam Jordan, defensive lineman from the Saints, has more interceptions than the entire Brown secondary.
Wow.
But we did it last week when we did the fake.
Well, I forgot,
stat.
Mike.
Yeah.
I forgot. Mary Kay reminded us. That is mind-blowing.
We got a lot of drop
This was supposed to be a special defense, and they have one interception from a linebacker. That's just insane.
Yes, it's mind-boggling. And we've seen them drop a bunch of them, right?
Yeah.
Now, Denzel Ward leads the NFL with 14 pass breakups, and some of those have ended up in his hands that he should have actually caught. And maybe that will turn around. Sometimes they come in bunches. But certainly, this is a defensive backfield full of talented guys. Martin Emerson, Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, Grant Delpit, Juan Thornhill. No one has an interception yet this season. So they've got to get that turned around. I definitely think it should be a point of emphasis. You don't want to do that to the detriment of the team or the play, but certainly there's got to be some picks out there for them. Now, speaking of picks, and we talked about this already, that Jameis Winston has to cut down on them, but the Saints are 4th in the NFL with 12 of them this season. So not a really good week to try not to be throwing picks.
I think Denzel Ward went to the Tyvis Powell School of Catching the Football.
He slid that one in there. That was wild. He slid that in there amongst the whole chaos.
I'm not even going to
Not even going to acknowledge that.
Mary Kay, give me one player that you think breaks out in the rest of this season for the Cleveland Browns. One player you're looking at.
Well, I don't know if these two players will actually break out or not, but there are two players that I would like to see a little bit about what they can do in the final 8 games. One of those players is Jamari Thrash. We haven't seen any of Jamari Thrash yet. He's always inactive, and I think now is the time to see what he's all about and what he can do. And then Isaiah McGuire. Let's throw Isaiah McGuire in there a bunch more and see if he can't get some pressure off the edge, some sacks off the edge. Myles Garrett is going to need some of these guys to step up and take some pressure away from him, because Za'Darius was certainly able to do that. He was leading in sacks before the Chargers game. So some of these guys are going to need to get out there and really do some great things to make sure that Myles isn't getting double team, triple team every single play like he usually does. There's another one. Mike Hall, I think, has played really well already. And I think there's a lot of good football in him to be played over these last 8 games. So he's another. And then Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I still want to see what more there is to Dorian Thompson-Robinson that perhaps we haven't seen yet. And they have big decisions to make in that quarterback room.
Mary Kay at his press conference, I believe it was Monday, Kevin Stefanski said, our priority is still win, 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 win. 1 through 100, we're trying to win 100 out of 100 games. Do you believe that's in the best interest of this team's long-term future, is to still go out and try and win every single one of these games if it does cost you a high draft pick?
I think so. I think that this is a football team that is not in tank mode. And if you're not tearing it down, you want to go out there and establish and continue that culture of winning. You don't want to get into a losing mindset. And I think that they're going to try to come back next year and get right back on the winning track. Nobody wants to go through a rebuild. Nobody wants to go through a teardown. You don't keep guys like Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, Joel Bitonio, Wyatt Teller, David Njoku, if you're doing some kind of a teardown. They need to get the quarterback right, and I think they need to continue winning. You never see Pittsburgh go into tank mode. They find a way to keep winning and playing good football, and I really think that's what the Browns need to do.
You're right, Mary Kay. That's a terrible question by Mike. What coach is going to want to lose? No coach wants to lose games.
Well, you don't come out and say you're going to lose games.
Good teams can draft good players no matter where they're picking. Unfortunately, the Browns haven't been one of those
Well, we
teams.
just went over that, which
That's
is why
true. Yeah.
I had to bring it up.
Mary Kay, thanks. We'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, guys.